Welcome back, everybody, to our latest live stream. It has been quite a while since we've done a live stream. The last time we went live was a month ago for the severe weather event that occurred across Kentucky and Tennessee, where we had multiple tornadoes, and we're officially back for a forecast live stream similar to what we did about a month ago with that same similar event. We'll basically be going over 4 big events. All right, there's multiple events that are happening across the United States over the next several days, and we're going to start first with the blizzard potential in the Midwest, and as well as the Central Plains. We'll see a little bit of snow out of it. We're going to begin with that. That's going to be our first little piece of forecasting. After that, we'll be going into more about the Arctic blast and as well as that severe weather threat in the Southern Plains. In addition to that, there is going to be severe weather in the Southeast again going into Friday. I have a lot of things to talk about with that because I think it's being a little bit overhyped. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the forecast. In addition to that, I'll be talking a little bit about the potential for some snow and ice accumulation back over in the Southern Plains as we go into this upcoming weekend and as well as into early next week with the Arctic blast that's on the horizon. Friendly reminder, this forecast usually is about 20 minutes long. Then I go into the Q&A section, which usually goes for anywhere from like 30 minutes to hours. So basically the live stream will be probably about an hour or two tonight. So again, if you have questions, save them for about 20 minutes from now. Friendly reminder, if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, click the bell icon down below as well so you're notified if and when we do go live. I will be live probably again tomorrow night as well. So if you have to leave at any point tonight and you have a question that I didn't answer, I'll probably be live again tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. And I think that's it. All right, let's get right into the forecast. So as of right now across the United States, this is the infrared imagery. We have a couple of things happening, and they're not really that big of a deal, you would think. But the first one that's ongoing in the Midwest is not a big deal. This system right now is moving through the Midwest with a few snow showers tonight. There will be about maybe a coating to an inch of snow across parts of like Illinois, Wisconsin, back into Michigan, Indiana, and maybe even northern Ohio through tomorrow morning. Again, nothing really to write home about. Pretty minimal system tonight. What we are actually going to be watching for, though, going into tomorrow through Saturday is going to be this disturbance over here. It is currently located over the Rocky Mountains, and this will actually be our next large winter storm that'll impact the Midwest and the northern Ohio Valley. In addition to that, it's going to actually bring severe weather from Texas back into Virginia and also the southeast United States as we go into tomorrow, which is tossing trampolines on tall trees Thursday, and as well as flying fences Friday. So 2 different days to watch for the severe weather threat out of this particular storm. Again, notice it's not really organized right now, and it won't be until tomorrow once this actually crosses over the Rocky Mountains and it starts to materialize a bit more in the Southern Plains. So that's what we're basically going to be looking at as we go into tomorrow for some of those areas. All right, so now let's talk a bit more about the Midwest tonight, and then we'll go into the winter storm and the blizzard. Tonight, again, a little bit of snow flurries, maybe some light snow. Again, nothing to write home about tonight. This will all happen overnight tonight. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, you might be waking up to some snowflakes in central and northern Michigan, perhaps near Milwaukee as well. And then as we go into tomorrow afternoon, that is done. And then we'd be talking about the potential for a winter storm and maybe even a blizzard to go along with that. Here are the watches and warnings across the United States. We have some new details that have just come out. The National Weather Service has officially issued winter storm watches in effect now for much, literally the entire state of Iowa, by the way, is under a winter storm watch or a winter storm warning. The only exception is this one little county here down in southeast Iowa. That's kind of interesting, just to say the least. I mean, the entire state, other than that one county, is under a winter storm watch or winter storm warning. But the winter storm watches have also been issued for parts of northern, central, and even southern parts of Michigan, and as well as northern Illinois, central and southern Wisconsin. We have winter weather advisories in effect across Nebraska. The winter weather event is actually going to start tomorrow night in parts of Nebraska and northern Kansas. Very light snowfall overall. It will not lead to much. And then this is going to grow in size and turn into a winter storm as it goes toward the Midwest. So that'll be happening again as we go into Friday. All right, let's take a look at everything that's happening here over the next several days. Let's start first with the future radar, give you an idea of what's happening. So again, little Clipper system tonight. Again, we're not going to talk any more about that. Going into tomorrow evening, we're actually going to be watching for a couple of different things. We're going to have a threat of severe weather across parts of the Southern Plains and the Mississippi Valley tomorrow night into Friday morning. So this will be an area to watch for some damaging winds, perhaps a little bit of isolated large hail, and maybe a couple of tornadoes. And I'm going to talk about later in this forecast about what this exactly means. Back over to the north, we'll have some snow ongoing across Iowa, and again, almost the entire state of Iowa is under a winter storm watch or warning. I'm honestly kind of surprised, to be honest, that the very southeastern part there of Iowa is not included in a watch or warning. I kind of feel like they should be, unless it's just an error on this graphic. I don't know, but I think they're definitely going to probably see close to winter storm levels. But besides the point, I just think that's still pretty interesting. Once we go through tomorrow, again, or going to Friday morning, excuse me, this winter storm will start to move off to the north and east. We're going to start to see heavy snowfall in parts of the Midwest, and I'll break down those exact locations here in just a few minutes. And then we'll be watching for a severe weather setup across parts of the Dixie Alley, including the lower Mississippi Valley Friday morning. This is 12 o'clock on Friday, so again, PM, 12 o'clock, so lunchtime. Storms will be rolling through areas like Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee. I wouldn't even be surprised if we got a little bit of isolated severe weather in Kentucky, maybe even southern Indiana. I would not rule out that we get an isolated little spin up with a storm, because the dew points will actually be right in the perfect spot, like 55 degrees Fahrenheit, for there to be a thunderstorm. So there's definitely a chance there back over in southern Indiana that we get something. Once we go to Friday evening, heavy snow continues across the Midwest, potentially dumping upwards of 12 to 18 inches of snow in a few spots. And then by Saturday morning, all this activity moves to the north and east. Bit of heavy snowfall in northern New England Saturday morning. And then as we go into Sunday, this all clears out. And then once we go into Sunday afternoon and evening, the next disturbance that we need to watch for will be in the southern plains. This could bring some snow, perhaps some ice, and as well as a little bit of rain to the south coast of Texas, but we might even see this freezing rain go down to closer to Houston, so we'll be watching that closely. I'm going to talk about more details on that as well later in this forecast, so just stay tuned. And again, if you can't stay for the entire forecast, which again will probably be about 15 more minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A. Again, you can come back to this live stream later. It'll be, still here. All right, here are the winter weather impacts that we're expecting in the central plains. This is the Weather Prediction Center's forecast. This is their latest forecast for specifically tomorrow night. I don't really think we're going to see moderate travel impacts here from the Texas Panhandle through northwest Oklahoma. It might just be a glitch on the graphic, but elsewhere I think there will be some minor travel impacts tomorrow evening. Back up in Iowa, I do think there will be a bit more of those moderate to major travel impacts depending on where you are, with the potential for high wind speeds and as well as snowfall in those areas. So again, this winter storm will all start to ramp up tomorrow around about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This is 5 o'clock tomorrow. So again, notice some light to moderate snowfall in parts of Kansas and Nebraska. This will all move to the east, and it will really ramp up in parts of Iowa as we go into the evening hours. This is by midnight, so snow will continue to dump across much of Iowa. Almost the entire state of Iowa around 1 in the morning going into Friday morning will be seeing snowfall, so that's pretty interesting there. Bit of a rain-snow mix on the very southern side of the state, which might just be why, again, that county's not included in the watch. Once we go into Friday around 12 o'clock, or sorry, not 12 o'clock, Friday at 6 a.m. in the morning, we'll be looking at a little bit of snow back down in Oklahoma, maybe even northwest Arkansas, perhaps southwest Missouri. I don't think we're going to see much out of this in terms of like a snowstorm. I don't think that's going to happen with this. I think if anything, we're going to see some flurries to maybe a couple inches of snow. That'd be basically about it with this. It would not be a winter storm. That would actually move through the St. Louis area as we go into Friday afternoon. So if you're in the St. Louis area, just be mindful there might be a little bit of snow out there, but again, probably will not be anything like a winter storm. Here's a snowfall accumulation for the Central Plains. Again, notice there's a massive difference between what we're seeing in the Central Plains in comparison to what the Midwest is going to see. There's going to be a massive gradient there, but we will be seeing around, again, flurries, a coating, maybe a couple inches of snow in parts of northern Kansas, higher snowfall totals across Iowa, where many of those areas currently have the chance at least to see between 4 to 8 inches of snow on the southern side of the state. Further up to the north and east, there's a chance for upwards of 8 to 12 inches, maybe an isolated spot getting close to 14 inches of snow when this event is all said and done. Back over in parts of eastern Oklahoma, again, a coating to an inch or two. I wouldn't even rule out a few snowflakes, maybe a dusting on elevated surfaces in northwest North Texas. And then back over near St. Louis, an inch to 3 inches would be basically all I'm looking at this point. Again, it probably will not be anything too crazy. Now, a big event that a lot of you are probably wondering about is the Midwest. So let's talk a bit more about the Midwest and what's coming with this winter storm. Again, right now, there is a major area that we're watching for major travel impacts. There's actually multiple. Anywhere in this red shaded areas that you're seeing, those are all major travel impact areas that are at least being forecasted as we go into Friday and Saturday. So if you're currently in the Chicago suburbs, if you're back over near Milwaukee, it's not really advised that you travel, especially if you don't have to. If it's mandatory, if it's an emergency, obviously take it very slow on the roadways, but also otherwise just, you know, I would stay home at this point, because I think Friday night into Saturday, it's going to be very active. There's going to be a lot of snow falling. It's going to get very hazardous, especially with the winds being very high. That's going to lead to some blizzard-like conditions, so you don't want to be caught out in that sort of environment. But again, this is what we're looking at going to Friday. So again, major travel impacts there. Anywhere in the orange is moderate travel impacts. And by the way, almost the entire state of Michigan is under at least moderate travel impacts being forecasted. Some areas and minor in that state as well, but that's at least what's being expected there. And back over in Indiana and Ohio, it varies. Mostly minor, limited, or moderate travel impacts if you're on the northern side of the state. So that's what we're looking at there. Winds are going to be high, as I mentioned before, going into Friday. Notice the wind gusts are going to start to ramp up 30 to 45 miles per hour. Blizzard warnings are not out of the question with this sort of environment, especially with the winds being high and a lot of snow falling. This would be midnight on Friday night into Saturday morning. So again, notice the wind gusts even in Ohio and Indiana will be upwards of 45 to 50 miles per hour. The exception to this entire thing, though, is that this area in particular, we're not really going to be dealing with much snowfall. The only snow that's going to really fall, I would say, would be probably during the very early stages of this event. Back over in the Midwest, 30 to 45 miles per hour, widespread. Almost all of Michigan as well going to be in the same boat. Somewhere between 30 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts is where I'd put you at this point. All right, let's go into the future radar, talk about what's upcoming with this event in the Midwest, hour by hour, or really every 3 hours, since we don't really have... Actually, we could actually look at the HRR model. Let me go to the HRR model. I'm not sure how far out it'll go, but we're going to give it a shot here because I think it will go out far enough. All right, so this is what we're looking at going into Friday morning. So this would be at about 2 in the morning, so very early. Probably you're sleeping at this point. There will be some snow ramping up across parts of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and again, Iowa is going to be getting dumped on with snow overnight, Thursday night into Friday morning. Northern Illinois is an area to watch for, though, because I think it's going to be mostly snow there in northern Illinois. This is what we're looking at 6 a.m. on Friday, so we'll probably get a little break in the snowfall across parts of southeast Iowa, western Illinois. Snow will start to ramp up in western Michigan around 6 in the morning. A lot of snow falling as well in southeast and eastern parts of Wisconsin. A lot of the snow overall is going to be light to moderate. There will be some heavy snowfall, though, back over in the core here on the northeast side of this low pressure system, so right in here near the Chicago area, back into southwest Michigan. This is what we're looking at closer to about 10 in the morning. Again, a lot of this will start to transition into rain, and what the HRR model actually has this system doing in particular is transitioning the Chicago area in northern Illinois into a bit of a rain stage. And if this ends up happening, we'll see a lot less snowfall in the Chicago suburbs. That's entirely possible with this sort of setup, and the low pressure system over the next 24 hours is really going to be crucial. I'm going to show you a graphic here in a second that gives you an idea of the uncertainty with this system, but there is a chance that this low pressure system, if it goes 50 miles further to the west, it could make a major difference in comparison to what we could see if it goes, 50 miles to the east. It could make a major difference in terms of the snowfall totals that could happen across the Midwest. So that's going to be something to watch for closely. But notice even by 3 p.m. on Friday, we're going to continue to see moderate to heavy snowfall, at least some sort of mixture near the Chicago area. And once we get closer to about Friday at 6 o'clock, a lot of light to moderate snow is still ongoing. Let me go back to the European model. This is the one I was going to show you initially. Again, it gives you a pretty similar idea. The European model keeps most of the Chicago area in a snow stage, but notice how close this rain and snow line is. It is very close to the Chicago suburbs, and the slightest bit further to the north that this system tracks, the less snowfall that you're going to get. But if it goes further down to the south and east, and it's maybe a little bit delayed on timing, you'll probably see a lot of snowfall. And that's why some of these computer models are running up the snowfall totals at 12 to 18 inches. That's because if this system is able to kind of just leverage itself down to the south, there could very easily be a possibility that upwards of, a foot or more snow falls in the Chicago suburbs. But again, if it's a little bit further up to the north, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago only got like 3 to 6 inches of snow. It's really going to be that close of a call. And it feels very similar to the winter weather event that we just saw a few days ago, the winter storm that just went through the Midwest. This is a very similar track overall. The difference with this low pressure system, by the way, is that this is actually going to have the chance to be a bomb cyclone. What that means is that the pressure is going to drop 24 millibars over the time frame of 24 hours. So a little interesting scientific approach to this as well. All right, now as we go into the probabilities of snowfall, so greater than 4 inches of snowfall, let's talk a little bit about this, and I'll show you the snowfall accumulation. This is what we're looking at going into Friday night in terms of snowfall accumulation. Again, greater than 4 inches of snow over a 24-hour period. In terms of the ensemble, so this is the European ensemble. Notice most of the Midwest is currently in about a 95 to 100% chance of seeing greater than 4 inches of snowfall. Chicago's actually at a 95% chance, which is kind of interesting. Like 24 hours ago is a 100% chance. So again, the chance chances kind of do vary a little bit, but in terms of, again, this entire area like Michigan, southeast Wisconsin, northern parts of Illinois, all these areas, again, in a 95 to 100% chance of seeing greater than 4 inches of snowfall. Outside of that, the chances get much lower. Back over in Iowa, I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out. The European ensembles think that it's a much lower chance in Iowa. I do think there's a bit of a chance, though, in parts of Iowa that we at least see around 3 to 6 inches of snow, perhaps 4 to 8 inches of snow, especially on the southern side of the state when this snow event all starts to kind of ramp up. All right, so this is a bit of a tricky forecast. I mentioned this a lot because, again, there's a lot of variables that could change the snowfall very easily. So I'm using the National Weather Service blend of models to give you an idea of the snowfall accumulation that could end up happening. But again, the smallest change to the track can make a major difference to the snowfall accumulation. This is what the forecast is from the, or basically the estimate is from the computer models, the the National Weather Service blend of models, as we go throughout the day, Friday into Saturday. And again, notice there's, high snowfall totals here, right? 12 to 18 inches of snow is a lot here. But again, I don't think we're going to see 12 to 18 inches of snow everywhere. I think overall, most areas are going to see between 4 to 8 inches of snow. I think some other areas between 8 to 12 inches of snow, possibly closer to like eastern Wisconsin, it's going to be 1 second. I'm talking very fast. Let me slow down here for just a second. I did not think we had 2,000 viewers. Holy cow. Hope everybody's doing well, by the way. Welcome to the stream. I hope it misses Michigan. I'm thinking it won't. I don't think it's missing Michigan. If you're in the Detroit area, it might be a bit of an exception. Give me 1 second. Yeah, one of my biggest problems is I talk too fast, and I'm feeling it. I talk fast in my forecast too. It's something I need to work on. Yes, I'm good. Thank you. You speak a lot slower than 2 years ago. I can actually agree with that. Funny enough, if you watched my videos 2 years ago, I talked extremely fast. Like, you would never imagine. It was insane. All right, let's get back to the snowfall accumulation. Let me try to break this down a bit slower for you. So again, this is the National Weather Service blend of models. What we're looking at here is again, an estimate from the National Weather Service blend of models. It's basically blending a bunch of models together. Again, I don't think we're going to see a widespread 12 to 18 inches of snow. I think that's a bit overboard. But again, the smallest change to the forecast could make it go higher or lower in any sort of case. But I do think the Chicago suburbs right now, 4 to 8 inches of snow is reasonable. I think going any higher than that is a bit unreasonable right now, mainly due to the fact the track could easily change here in the Chicago suburbs and anywhere in Illinois. That's a big deal. Back through Indiana even, again, a coating upwards of 8 inches, so the further south and north you go, it's a big change overall. And then back over in Michigan, this area in particular, I think there will be some heavier snowfall. I think about 8 to 12 inches is a good range, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. Again, give or take a few inches on those, because again, we could easily see a little bit more or a little bit less of snowfall when this event is all said and done. So that's what we're basically looking at again in terms of snowfall accumulation. I'll do a bit more of a detailed breakdown on that tomorrow once there is more certainty. One graphic I did want to show you. This is, let me make sure it's on the screen here. So Connor Croft made this little graphic here over on Twitter, so I just kind of picked this up. And this shows you like 5 different computer models with basically where the low pressure system is on each one. And this is the European model. So notice again the low pressure system right here. This is the Canadian model, putting the low pressure system here. Again, notice where the snow and rain is in comparison to the low pressure system. Big difference overall. This is the GFS model, puts it right here. This is the HRR model, puts it over, the Great Lakes, for example. And then this is the HRW model, which puts it, I'm just kind of overline it. So that's 2 right there. It's basically the same spot. Icon model puts it in another similar spot there. This is the NAM model. This is the NAM3K model. And then this is the RAP model. So you basically get an idea that we have a spread here across the, the Midwest and also northern parts of Indiana, where the low pressure system will be. And the further north and west this goes, the less snowfall Chicago is going to get. So if you, again, I know a lot of you that watch from the Midwest that are in the Chicago suburbs, again, you'll get a lot less snowfall if the low pressure system is further up here to the north and west. If it's further down here to the south and east, like a couple of models are showing, there will definitely be a lot of snow there. Again, there could be easily 10 to 15 inches of snowfall. So that's what we'd be looking at in that area anyway. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, if you're over there in the Chicago area, there could be a lot of changes over the next 24 hours. I heard local news is predicting 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might be different. That's what, at least what I've heard over in the Chicago suburbs. So if you're in like Chicago, again, it could easily go up. Just kind of depends on what happens here over the next, again, 24 hours. So we'll kind of see what happens with the track and everything like that. My Apple weather app says Chicago is getting 14 inches. Again, it's possible, but it's too early to tell if we'll get that much. I'll talk about severe weather here in just a second. By the way, if you rewatch this forecast, I will put timestamps after the video's done of the severe weather segment and all that sort of stuff, so if you have to leave at any point. All right, let's go into the severe weather potential. We're going to begin first with tossing trampolines on tall trees Thursday. So currently the risk is a slight risk of severe weather. This includes Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. The main concerns right now are damaging winds, large hail, and perhaps even a few tornadoes. And again, this will be a nocturnal threat. It's going to be after 10 o'clock tomorrow night. I will not be live streaming this particular event just due to the fact it's going to be late at night. And I'm back in college, so college classes are going to kind of take over that. But this is going to be an area to watch for. Again, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and back through Texas. Damaging winds, large hail, and perhaps even a couple tornadoes. There is a 5% tornado region across parts of Texas, Louisiana, back into Mississippi, and as well as Arkansas. And then going into Flying Fences Friday, we have a much larger risk of severe weather. I know this has been talked about a ton over the last few days. A lot of people are saying, you know, this could be a moderate threat. This could be either, you know, high risk or something like that. I think a lot of things need to go right for this to be a moderate risk or high risk of severe weather. And I'll talk about those details here in a second. But right now, there is an enhanced risk of severe weather for Alabama back through North Carolina. And we also have a slight risk of severe weather from Virginia back into parts of eastern Louisiana. And again, the main concerns will be damaging winds, large hail, and also multiple tornadoes would be possible. Again, not likely, it's possible. I can't say it's going to be likely yet just due to the fact the setup is going to be a little bit weird. And I'll talk about that here in just a second. I need to get more water. Explain in terms of toilet paper. I'll actually show you the toilet paper graphic in a second. If you're curious about the toilet paper chart, if you haven't already seen it, we just made this literally yesterday. So instead of the flying trampoline meter, we now have a toilet paper meter. This is exclusively, though, for winter. So if you're in the Midwest, I put it at high risk. But if you're in like Texas and stuff, I think it's going to be a high risk for sure, just due to the fact areas in Texas don't see snow and ice very often. It's entirely possible. Will the enhanced risk extend into central North Carolina? It already kind of is. I mean, if you're talking about like Raleigh, well, let me look in a minute and I'll tell you, because I haven't really looked at North Carolina specifically. But regardless, you're still in a threat of severe weather either way. So this is the low-level jet, by the way, as we go into Thursday night into Friday. And again, one of the biggest things with the low-level jet is it's going to be cranking a strong southwesterly flow. That's going to amp up the severe weather threat. That's going to rotate supercells in the lower levels. This is, again, this is Friday at 3 in the morning, so low-level jet around 50 to 60 knots. That's going to increase the tornado risk just a bit across areas in the Mississippi Valley. And even as we go into Friday afternoon, the low-level jet is going to be actually crazy. We can get the low-level jet upwards of 100 knots across parts of the Ohio Valley. So again, just crazy stuff with this sort of system. Sorry, for some reason I'm just kind of like I was talking too fast, and now I kind of feel a little lightheaded, so I'm just trying to slow down here for a second. Do apologize. I'm also coming off of being sick, and I haven't been live in a while, so might be that too. Do you guys hear, by the way, there was a EF3 tornado in Panama City yesterday. That was confirmed. How's it going, Cindy? I ate, yes. Could rap out Eminem words in a minute. I probably could. If my map got blurry, refresh. I will be, I addressed the lake effect snow in today's forecast. I'll check that out. I'm probably not going to talk about much in this forecast. How's it going, Morgan? All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a 1-minute breather, and I'll be back in a second. I'll go over the severe weather threat. I think that'll help a little bit. I'll be back in a minute. Break. I just wanted to give you a friendly reminder to hit that red button down below and subscribe. That way you never miss an accurate and honest forecast from Max Velocity. Also, make sure to hit that bell icon and click all so you receive all notifications when I go live or I have a video forecast for you. Also, hit the like button down below as well. Helps our page out a lot. And if you're feeling generous and you want to support our page above and beyond, you can become a member for as little as $2.99 per month. All you need to do is click that little join button, and you can select from 4 different tiers, which will give you different benefits, from bloopers access to exclusive forecasts. You will also get a shout out here on our live stream. We'll be right back. All right, let's try the severe weather segment again. No, I'm fine. Apparently I was talking faster than I usually do, which I already talk fast to begin with. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. I think I'm good. I do apologize. This is actually, I don't think ever happened on live stream before. I guess I got too ahead of myself. I really don't know what happened. I really don't. It's hard to explain, you know. I was talking, you know, I'll have to watch it back because I don't know how exactly fast I'm talking. I just talk. I just talk about weather. I talk about weather. I talk about weather. And so, yeah, I think, again, one of the biggest things I mentioned before, but One of the biggest things I do have to work on over the next few months, and I'm actually in an advanced broadcast meteorology class this semester, is talking slower. But I've never had that before, and guys, I've done hundreds of live streams, hundreds of video, almost 1,000 videos now. I've never had problems talking fast, so it's kind of like one of those weird things that just, you know, just kind of happened out of nowhere. So I think I'm good now. Let's resume into the severe weather threat. So again, we're going to break down the severe weather threat. I'll basically just restart it. Again, we have a slight risk of severe weather. This does include Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas as we go into tomorrow. And then Friday, again, we have that severe weather threat going from North Carolina back into Alabama for the enhanced risk. And then a marginal threat of severe weather extending from Virginia back into parts of the Ohio Valley and back through Louisiana and Florida. So again, the threat of severe weather on Friday, it's pretty similar to what we just saw yesterday. It's going to be a very similar threat overall. And again, if you're across the southeast United States, have multiple ways to receive alerts, have a tornado action plan in place because it could get pretty dicey. And one of the biggest things with this event is going to be the low-level jet. And notice on the European model, we have a very strong southwesterly flow around 80 to 90 knots Friday afternoon across parts of South Carolina and Georgia. And this will basically amp up the rotation in the lower levels with these supercells. So that'll make it pretty dangerous out there. So again, that'll be a big problem. One of the biggest question marks that remains, though, is the dew points. Again, in Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida, these are the areas that have dew points that are sufficient for severe weather. But it's going to be a question of how far north this moisture goes into Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina. If it goes far enough north, there'll be a better chance of tornadoes. But if it stays farther to south, I don't think this is going to be a super big outbreak. I'm still having the issue. I'm not sure what it is. I really don't know what it is. Because again, I've never had this happen before. I have low sugar. I do not have low sugar now. I listen easier when people talk faster. Well, that's not my problem. I'm just like, it might be anxiety or something. I don't know. I have no clue what it is. Bugsy, I'm fine. Don't worry. Might be hyperventilation. I don't know. Come back in 30 minutes. I don't want to leave this live stream up for 30 minutes and just come back out of nowhere. You guys got some funny comments. Guys, I'm good. Trust me. I'm not in a situation where I'm like, you know, dire here. It's talking more than anything. But again, this has never happened on a live stream before. I just want to point that out. Like I've done over 100 live streams, 1,000 videos. Nothing like this has happened. So it's just kind of weird. By the way, thank you to G's Ryan for the $4.99. Do you think the Friday storm is going to be worse than Tuesday for Davenport, Iowa? How much snow did you guys get on Tuesday? Thanks, Connor. I appreciate it. You talk fast too. I've watched your videos before. You talk, I think, at pretty similar speed. $12 to 14 inches, you're not going to get more than what that day was then. You're probably going to get somewhere in the ballpark of, I'd say 4 to 8 is a reasonable estimate. Yes, I'm good. Trust me. I just need to take a breather, and I don't know if I'll be able to return to doing the severe weather segment fully. At the bare minimum, I can answer questions. So if you have questions, leave them in the chat. I'm comfortable with that right now. It's just, for some reason, going through the full forecast is doing it to me. So I don't know what's going on with that. What's my opinion on the Chicago suburbs snowfall? So the current forecast from the NWS blended models keep us in like the 4 to 8 inch range, and I think that's reasonable. So 4 to 8 inches of snow I think is reasonable. Again, if the track goes a little bit further north, I think there's a better chance that we'll see less snow. If it goes a little bit further south and east, there's a better chance that you'll see a lot more snow. So upwards of, 10 to 15 inches of snow. So I think that's kind of the ballpark. Again, it's a pretty wide range. You basically could see anywhere from 2 inches of snow up to 18 inches of snow. It really depends on the track. I mean, again, the models have been super inconsistent in terms of like the placement of the heaviest of the snowfall. And what's quite interesting with the models, again, this is the NWS blended models. Let me go to the HRR. I haven't actually looked at the HRR model yet. The HRR puts like 2 to 5 inches of snow in the Chicago area. So again, right on the cusp of like a, seeing at least some meaningful snowfall. But again, a track slightly further south would bring the potential for 8 to 12 inches of snowfall instead. There could be a major difference here in terms of snowfall accumulation, depending specifically on the track of the bomb cyclone that is expected to happen. And I mentioned this earlier, but a bomb cyclone, let's go back to here. This is the cyclone as we go into, let's see. So this is at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Again, notice 995 millibars at 6 p.m. Thursday. This is 6 p.m. on Friday, 973 millibars. So if you do the math, that's 23 millibars in 24 hours. This will be pretty close to being a very rare bomb cyclone over land, and that doesn't happen very often. They're much more common in the Pacific Ocean, by the way. So if you're in the Pacific, well, if you're a fish that lives in the Pacific, you see this often. But if you're like, Western California, for example, bomb cyclones are pretty common actually over there. They happen at least a couple times a year usually. So this is what we're basically be talking about in terms of the system. It's actually gonna be kind of classified as a bomb cyclone, or at least could be, depending on how quickly it strengthens over the period of 24 hours. The European model brings it down to 970. So it'll be a pretty close call. And then this is the HRR model, 997 to 968. So again, it's going to be a close call. But again, bomb cyclone, 24 millibars over 24 hours. That's basically what that means. By the way, I've had some people asking me about the Dallas, like North Texas sort of situation, the Southern Plains in terms of snow and ice. Again, tomorrow, or not tomorrow night, but Friday morning, there's actually a low chance of some flurries in very far northern North Texas. So if you're right along the Red River, maybe some snowflakes, maybe some light snow. It won't accumulate too much, maybe a dusting if you're back near Wichita Falls. Going into specifically, though, going into Sunday night into Monday, there is a chance for maybe a little bit of a ice situation that develops with freezing rain, perhaps even some snow back over in parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri, and southern Kansas. The ice accumulation will be interesting to watch, though. And really the biggest thing will be where it exactly happens, because the models have been showing, potentially seeing freezing rain up here. The European model in particular is showing it across a much larger chunk of Texas. So the trends over the next 24 to 48 hours will be crucial to seeing who's actually going to see snowfall back down in or snow and ice in Texas. And there's a chance that we really don't see much of anything if it stays further up here to the north and east, because the GFS model keeps it in Arkansas. But if we do end up seeing snow, this would be what we're looking at. So again, a good widespread 2 to 5 inches of snow back up in Oklahoma, back through Arkansas. But again, this is still a question mark. Don't quote me on the numbers, because these could easily change depending on the track and how intense the system is. And it's going to be right along the Arctic blast and where it's going. So it's going to be kind of an interesting little evolution. North Texas as well. You might see snow, you might not. If you do see snow, it probably will not be much. So this is nothing like 2021, in my opinion. And by the way, if you haven't already heard, the Arctic blast going into Monday morning, which I know a lot of you probably have already heard this. I've had multiple forecasts on this. Monday morning wind chills are going to be, or these are the temperatures, excuse me, on Monday morning, not the wind chills. It's going to get pretty cold. Almost the entire state of Texas will be under freezing temperatures by Monday morning. What will actually be under freezing will be Tuesday morning. across nearly the entire state of Texas. And again, these are just temperatures. These aren't even wind chills. So if you're over in like Illinois, you're going to be sub 20 or 20 sub-zero in those areas. The entire state of Iowa will be sub-zero for sure, down closer to negative 20. Much of the Midwest, much of the northern and central plains, sub-zero. The wind chills are a bit different. They'll be a lot colder. This is what you'll feel like going to Monday morning. Again, very cold. Oh, these are actually temperatures as well. I forgot to change this over. Let me go to the actual wind chills. Here are the wind chills going into Monday morning. Again, pretty crazy stuff. We're talking about wind chills 20 to 40 sub-zero across the Midwest, back through the northern plains, and even in Kansas, sub 15, sub 20 0. This is Tuesday morning as well. Wind chills will be down near zero, even as far south as like Houston will be down to 14 for a feels like temperature Tuesday morning. Midwest will be down near 40 below zero. Even down in North Texas, we'll go sub-zero in those areas as well. It's getting crazy. Again, I've talked about this multiple times. We're probably going to see some record-breaking low temperatures. At the bare minimum in the Central Plains, because that's the area that we're going to have the main action when it comes to this huge Arctic blast. This is what it looks like in real time Saturday morning, and it's going to really filter into the Central Plains. Once we go into Sunday, it's going to build a bit, and then it'll start to plow down to the south. It's going to get quite interesting. That's all I got to say. And, the weather's been very active over the last couple of weeks, and it's just going to keep getting more active, especially with this Arctic blast. And one of the things I'm concerned about with the Arctic blast in particular is that we could actually see this recycle, and it could bring multiple shots of cold air. So again, notice this is Thursday. This is Saturday, one shot of cold air in the Central Plains that dives further down to the south by Monday into Tuesday. And this system up here in Canada might circle like a little bit. It might bring more shots of cold air to the Midwest and maybe even the East Coast as we go into next weekend. So if you're not already seeing the Arctic blast by Tuesday of this week, if you're back over in the Great Plains or the Midwest, you have a pretty good chance of seeing it over on the East Coast once we go into late next week. It's, this Arctic blast is going to like recycle potentially back over in the East Coast. So that'll be something to watch for sure. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We are actually getting pretty close to 100,000 subscribers, which is kind of crazy to think. And by the way, I'll be live again tomorrow night, most likely, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell icon down below. Let's answer some questions. I've gone through most of the stuff. Severe weather, I did want to talk about at least a little bit, but I have to find the graphic to the timing. And I mentioned before, but one of the biggest things with this severe weather event is the lack of moisture, and that's going to be one of the biggest things. I think the lack of moisture will kind of make this event struggle a bit in terms of the tornado threat, and I think that we're going to have a lot of shear and a very strong low-level jet here across the southeast, so tornadoes will be extremely easy to occur, and this could actually cause like a widespread tornado outbreak if we had the right setup. I don't think we're going to have the right setup, though. I think most of this activity will be scattered severe weather. I think we'll get a few tornadoes across areas like Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. I'll be monitoring trends closely, but the HRR model is usually the model to show pretty nasty supercells, and this one in particular, it's really not showing much right now. It's actually showing like, it shows some discrete cells out there, semi-discrete supercells, but these are not really impressive even on this the HRR model. And if we go to the moisture, so the dew points, again, there's going to be a pretty good area here from about central Alabama back to the Gulf Coast with dew points between 55 to 65 degrees in terms of dew points. That's favorable enough, at least for some severe weather. But what we'll be watching basically for is seeing how far north this moisture content goes. If it stays closer to the Gulf Coast and kind of contains itself, I don't think we're going to see nearly as many tornadoes or significant severe weather events if it stays really close to the coast. And I think actually if you're along the Florida Panhandle, I'd be most mindful if you're down here, because if we do end up getting the correct setup like this, we'll probably see a bit more of a focused severe weather threat actually a bit further down here to the south, maybe in the same area that we saw literally yesterday. So again, this is like deja vu all over again with this storm, with the severe weather threat almost in the same identical area. But yeah, basically the same exact area. All right, let me see. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be answering some here. How much total snowfall will Tulsa get? Again, it's too early to tell if you're talking about Sunday. If you're talking about Friday, maybe some flurries to a coating. I would honestly be surprised if you got much more than that. I gotta find the graphic here. Let's go to the HRRR model. So again, notice this will be Friday morning at 6 o'clock. Again, a little bit of light to moderate snow across parts of Oklahoma. And by the way, this is not a rumor. This is actually true. There could actually be a little bit of snow in northwest North Texas going into Friday around 2 to 4 in the morning. So that'd be the time frame to watch for. Let's go to the snowfall accumulation. The HRRR shows a coating to 2. I think this is a bit more reasonable, though. I think a coating to an inch is more reasonable, the 10 to 1 ratio. So that's what we're looking at now. Will Central Texas get tornadoes? I don't really foresee much of a tornado risk in Central Texas, specifically tomorrow. The threat is going to develop after sunset. Let me go to the timing guide here. We're just going to use this graphic and we'll just kind of chug along with it. Why not? Here's the future radar for tomorrow. We're going to see a line of storms develop across parts of like Dallas and Plano around midnight tomorrow. So again, this is a nocturnal threat. That severe weather threat's going to begin like right here, right along the I-35 corridor. And that's eventually going to move to the east toward Tyler and Shreveport. But I think most of this will be damaging winds tomorrow night, honestly. I would be surprised if we saw much of a tornado risk materialize out of this. Let's go to the tornado parameter. There is actually a good amount of, there's at least a signal here across southern Arkansas. We at least have a chance, at least a low-end threat for at least a couple of tornadoes going into Thursday night, like overnight into Friday morning. Let's go to the southeast. I'm actually kind of curious now where this tornado parameter lies. This is really interesting, and I kind of mentioned this before. The severe weather threat on Friday, I do feel, is a little bit overhyped right now. I think there's a chance that we still get maybe a strong tornado or two, but I don't think it's going to be a widespread tornado outbreak. Even the tornado parameter values, not very convincing. Very thin in area, basically, where all the moisture will be. It's from central Mississippi, basically, going into around 8 in the morning Friday and up until about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. A little bit of, maybe an isolated tornado or two here in a very tight corridor. So it'll be interesting to see what the Storm Prediction Center says in their next outlook. And again, nothing set in stone on this event. Things could easily change on the dime. The snap of your finger, things could easily change here in the southeast United States. But one thing I'd be very well aware of is that there is a chance for tornadoes and damaging winds in the southeast on Friday, and even going into the early morning hours. This is not going to be a nocturnal threat. It's pretty similar timing to what we just saw yesterday. So if you are in the southeast, have a tornado action plan in place, multiple ways to receive alerts. And by the way, if you need a weather radio, like another way to receive alerts, the link at the top of the description I actually put there has a weather radio if you want to get one on Amazon. So I had to put that there just in case anybody was interested in getting a weather radio. Have a good night, Jaden. I heard possible snow in Tyler, Texas on Sunday. Again, I don't know if we will. It's going to be a close call, and it's too early to tell. The confidence levels on winter weather events in Texas are very low to begin with, because things always change in Texas. It's a crazy state. But I would say right now, if you're in Tyler, I'd give you like a 10% chance of snow right now. It's such a low chance. I think if anything, you'd see freezing rain. I'll give that more like a 25 to 30% chance Sunday night and a Monday. And that would lead to ice accumulation. So. How much snow do you think the Chicago suburbs will get? This is like the 6th time I think I've seen this question in chat, so I'm going to say it again. Let's go to the snowfall accumulation. This is the NAM 3K model. When did I pull up this model? Well, shows kind of the range that I was thinking. But I think overall the Chicago suburbs, and even in Chicago, you're probably going to be in the range of 4 to 8 inches. That's my forecast right now. I think from what I heard, local news is saying 3 to 6. That's not really conservative, to be honest. It's actually probably in the ballpark of what's going to happen. Again, the low pressure center is going to be critical to what happens. These are, again, the different computer models. Connor Croft made this on Twitter. He made a little graphic here of the different, possibilities here of where this low pressure system will be going into the exact time of Friday at 6 p.m. This is one computer model, the European, which is pretty accurate. This is the Canadian. I'm going to ignore the Canadian because it's not really that accurate in my opinion. The GFS can be accurate, but it's hit or miss, to be honest. The HRR, here's the HRR, so it's a bit further up to the north, a bit faster actually. The HRW model, not one I really use. Icon model, I don't really use either. And the NAM model, I use a little bit. So basically, the majority of the computer models right now are keeping it right in here, that low pressure center. And if we end up seeing a low pressure center right here in Northwest Indiana, back into Southwest Michigan, we're probably actually going to see some heavier snowfall, potentially even, or heavier snowfall, but away from Chicago. So Chicago would probably see in the ballpark of like 3 to 6 inches of snow in this scenario, if the low pressure system goes in this track. If it goes further out here like the European model is showing it, you could easily get 8 to 12 inches of snow, no doubt. I mean, it's pretty easy for that to happen. It just depends on where this low pressure center is, because the warm air advection is a big thing here. I mean, we're gonna have a ton of warm air advection around this. It's gonna circulate a little bit into the system, and that would kind of cause the surrounding areas of the low pressure system to at least have a brief transition into a rain snow mix of some sort. So that's what we're looking at there. Somebody is wondering if there's going to be a snow day in Texas. I can guarantee you, I believe all public schools, maybe even private schools, Monday will be off across the United States. It's a snow day, even if you don't see snow. It is Martin Luther King Day in the United States. So you're guaranteed to have no school on Monday. So at least there, I mean, that's basically gonna be the snow day if you're back down in the southern plains. Obviously in the Midwest, this is all gonna be falling Friday into Saturday, so you're not gonna be, you know, if there was a snow day, it would be Friday. First Alert Weather Day. That is a branded slogan from a news station. That is not a meteorology term. I just want to throw that out there. So I could make a flying trampoline alert day. I can make a toilet paper emergency day. I can do any of that. By the way, if you're in Texas, I would recommend, you know, I don't think you need to go buying all the toilet paper off the shelves, but we do have a high risk of toilet paper running out at the stores, just because I know a lot of people are going to be buying toilet paper down in North Texas as we go into this weekend. So, toilet paper warning if you're down in North Texas. I honestly think with this low pressure system, I do think it's going to go closer to Chicago. I hate to break it to you. I think it could still change easily. But in my personal opinion, I think this is going to go probably much closer to Chicago than people want if you were wanting a lot of snow. The HRR model and the most, like, this is the 18Z run. So this was 6 hours ago on the HRR. Let's go to the exact time now. With the HRRR. The HRRR takes a little bit more to the east now in the latest run, but it's still close to Chicago. And the closer it is, the less snow you're basically going to see. So, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a close call. Again, Chicago, be ready for 2 inches of snow and be ready for 16 inches of snow. It really could be either way. I think Chicago, though, will probably be around 3 to 6. I think that's a pretty reasonable estimate. But come back tomorrow, because I'll have probably a better idea of what Chicago's going to see in particular. This is what Michigan's going to see, by the way. I know a lot of you are wondering about Michigan. There will be snow beginning around about 8, 9 in the morning, going into Friday across Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. It'll ramp up as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. Detroit will probably be a bit more of a rain situation during the evening hours. We'll be talking about some pretty good snowfall, though, across much of northern Michigan. It's shifting south on the HRR. I don't think it's really shifting south. It was shifting a little bit east more than anything. It's not much. Again, wait till tomorrow. Once this low pressure system, because the low pressure system right now, it's located right over here. It is yet to cross the Rocky Mountains yet. Once it gets past that and into the southern and central plains, I think there'll be a much better idea. And that's going to happen, by the way, like tomorrow morning. Early afternoon sort of thing. So we'll have a better idea, I think, tomorrow, because a lot of these computer models are using real-time data from these different weather stations to be able to incorporate into the computer models. So that's pretty important when it comes to these computer models. Let me go back to Michigan real quick. I was just talking about that. I got sidetracked. I have about 40 tabs open, so bear with me. I need to find it. I don't know where it went. I might have to open a new one. Oh, Lord. We have so many tabs open. I don't think you guys can see all the tabs, which is a good thing. Let's go to the... I'll do the European model. The HRR doesn't go out far enough. But again, we'd be talking about a good amount of snow going into Friday evening, heavy snowfall for northern and central Michigan, and this would continue through Friday night. Saturday morning, most of the snow clears out. By the way, there will be lake effect snow on the backside of this. I think the lake effect snow for both Michigan and as well as Pennsylvania will be on the lighter side of things. I don't think this is going to be a significant lake effect snow event where we're seeing very heavy snowfall like Buffalo last year. I think more than anything, this will be a bit more of the light variety of snowfall once we go through Saturday, Sunday, and maybe even into Monday. Here's the snowfall accumulation forecast. That's the 10-to-1 ratio. This is the Kuchera run, so it gives you a little bit better idea. I think the 10-to-1 ratio is a bit overestimating. I don't think we're going to see 25 inches of snow in northern Michigan. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the other one. I honestly, I should just make my own like graphic for this because I don't really agree with like any of these computer models right now in terms of where they're placing the heaviest of snowfall and how high the snowfall totals are, because all of them are showing a huge area of 12 to 18 inches of snow, which is entirely possible. It's just, where will that snow actually fall? It depends on where that low pressure system goes. But I think most areas, again, I'll kind of, let's just make some circles here. I'll try to make a broad prediction of what I'm thinking. I think overall, most of this region here, so again, northern, western parts of Michigan, I'd say about 9 to 14 inches of snow is my range. Again, it's a little bit of a large range, but I think that's reasonable. Let's kind of circle outside of this here. And just so it can be super accurate, 4 to 9 inches of snow. No, I think this area overall will probably be around 4 to 9 inches of snow. I think northern Indiana and near the Chicago area probably will be closer to the 3 to 6 range overall. And then outside of that, I think most areas will be under 4 inches of snow. Only exception would probably be here in central and southern parts of Iowa, where there'll probably be 3 to 6 inches of snow overall. Maybe a 7-inch reading somewhere down in southern Iowa or eastern Iowa wouldn't be out of the question, especially the further like if you're way over here in eastern Iowa, I think there's a much better chance of upwards of 6 to 8 inches of snow. I think heavier snowfall will fall there. But again, it's a very preliminary prediction. I wish I made my own graphic for this because I really don't agree with any computer models. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I usually agree with one, but even the European model I don't agree with. It's one of those dilemmas. We actually got the icon model on here now. The icon model, I can get behind the icon model, actually. I actually don't mind this. I think this is a little bit more accurate, but 13 inches here in northern Indiana, that would probably be coming from the lake effect snow, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd probably be coming from that. This is Saturday morning, so again, this is what goes through my mind whenever I'm doing a weather forecast. This actually looks more realistic, though, I'm going to be honest with you, at least for the Midwest. I think a lot of these areas are a bit more in the ballpark. Chicago, I still think is too high, at least with the uncertainty. I think that area, again, will still be 3 to 6. Northern Michigan, I think, will be more. I think it'll still be, 6 to 12 at the bare minimum. But again, I really still can't agree with them on this model either. I don't know if there's a model right now that I can agree with. The last one I'm going to look at is the NAM model. Let's check this one out. This might be a bad idea. Yeah, this is a bad idea. Actually, I mean, it's not super unrealistic. This is pretty unrealistic. This would, again, probably be from lake effect snow, but even then, I don't think that's happening. Well, you get what I mean. Again, there's still some uncertainty. I think, again, the Chicago area, 3 to 6 inches is reasonable for now, 4 to 8 inches. What I said was 4 to 8. The news is saying 3 to 6. Same ballpark. I think that's a reasonable expectation right now. So that's what we're thinking, at least right now. By the way, thank you to Jan for becoming a moderate velocity member. I appreciate that a lot. Welcome to the Velocities. Welcome back, actually. I appreciate you becoming a moderate velocity member. Let's get some hearts in the chat for Jan. Or Jane, sorry. Appreciate it. Thank you. Is southern Indiana going to get any accumulating flow? I'm guessing you meant snow. It was probably an autocorrect. I don't think so. I don't think southern Indiana is going to really get any snow out of this. It'll be pretty much all rain. Let's go back to the HRR. Let's go to the Ohio Valley. I know a lot of you are disappointed, including Northeast Ohio, that there's been like no snow this winter. Unfortunately, I have no good news for you. There's nothing really in the forecast. So if you're hoping for some good news, there's really not. I'm talking more about like the Chicago area, or not Chicago, sorry, Cleveland area. Southern Indiana, though, you might get a little bit of snow flurries on the backside of the low, but again, it wouldn't be anything that crazy. This is the total amount of snowfall so far this winter, by the way. So again, area actually northeast Ohio has seen a pretty good amount of snow. How much is that? That's about 12 inches of snow. The key's at the bottom here. Texas has yet to really see anything other than the Panhandle. Florida has yet to see snow. Shocker, by the way. I would expect like 6 inches of snow by now. Actually, believe it or not, the most snow Florida's ever seen is 4 inches. Which is actually kind of surprising. I kind of thought it'd be a little bit higher near the Panhandle, but I guess not. Kind of funny that Alabama and Georgia saw snow already. Yeah, the weather is going to be really active over the next week or two. I mentioned this like, I think it was about 7 days ago. I mentioned a few days ago that I was thinking that it would be pretty overall like active as we go into January. And honestly, the weather was so inactive in December that I almost thought that for sure we're going to see a lot of stuff in January. And that's kind of, you know, transpired at this point. But I would say the good news is, if you are curious about, basically, if you're wondering, are we done with snow for a while? Will there be any more big winter storms after this one? I think there's some good news. We're going to have the Arctic blast, so it's going to be very frigid across much of the United States early next week, even further than that. But by like Wednesday to Thursday of next week, the European model is showing like nothing. It's showing a couple of little disturbances, but it's not much. That would be because of this very dominant low pressure system that's going to recycle up here. That's actually going to be the bomb cyclone. And if that does recycle back into the United States, we're probably going to see a pretty inactive pattern. We might get some severe weather and potentially a winter weather event here along the Gulf Coast southeast. That's actually possible next week. I wouldn't even rule it out Monday and Tuesday, but this is too early to really get too many details on. It is possible, but it's, again, too early. It'd be contingent on whatever happens with the bomb cyclone. And again, I think we'll have a lot more details in a, you know, about a day or two, probably tomorrow night, if not by Sunday would be a bit more, or sorry, tomorrow night. By the way, I thought today was Monday, just for reference. Today's Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday. So either Thursday or Friday we'll have more details. Louisiana is under a threat of severe weather tomorrow night. It's going to be overnight into Friday morning. So tossing trampolines on tall trees Thursday, into flying fences Friday. We do have at least a slight risk of severe weather right now for northern Illinois and even central Illinois. This might get upgraded to enhanced. We'll see. I don't think it will. I say might because they might upgrade it and I might just be wrong. So they might upgrade it, but I just don't think it's going to be that big of a risk. I think most of the threat will be damaging winds and maybe a couple of tornadoes. We have a very strong low-level jet that would help with that. And then the southeast on Friday, I was thinking there might be a moderate risk with how strong the low-level jet is going to be, but the moisture is a big question mark. And if we don't have a whole lot of moisture, I could actually see this getting downgraded, but we'll have to wait and see what happens here over the next 12 to 24 hours. It'll be pretty crucial to see what actually happens there. Thank you, Olivia, for the $5 super chat. Watch you every day. Helped keep us safe back in March. What weather event happened back in March? I'm just curious. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I'm guessing it's severe weather, but I'm just trying to figure out which one. What was one of the bigger ones that happened in March? Does anybody remember? I appreciate the generosity, by the way. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Were those the those were the high risk days, weren't they? Oh my god, I don't know how I forgot about that. I didn't. Yeah, March 31st. Thank you. Yeah, that was the high risk days. I kind of thought for some reason that was like a year. I don't know. My time is so off. Ever since the new year, my time, or actually ever since Christmas, my time has been off because Christmas was like on a weird day this year. It was on the weekend, so, or actually it's on Monday, I think. So it just kind of played with everything. I kind of lost track of days. Even today, I thought today was Monday. So it's very interesting. Double high risk, yeah. I mean, I remember that clearly now. I remember going live for that, and I was going to be live like that entire day, but I had classes during the afternoon, which kind of was unfortunate. I think I got sick around that time too, which kind of prevented me from going live. Friendly reminder, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And click the bell icon down below as well so you're notified with the latest live streams. Again, I do plan on being live again tomorrow night. I will have a video probably tomorrow afternoon, maybe tomorrow morning if I feel up to it. We will see. But if you have any other questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. Again, this live stream's not ending yet. I'll answer some more questions here. I didn't realize, I didn't think we'd have 2,000 viewers watching this. I really didn't. I was kind of expecting a low-key 500 viewers tonight. That'd be nice, but I didn't realize it until like 30 minutes in. I was like, wow, we already have 2,000 viewers. This doesn't happen usually on our forecast streams. How do you think the Waukesha, Wisconsin area is going to be in the toilet paper level? Toilet paper level varies across the United States purely because I don't think the Midwest is nearly as concerned about seeing snow than like Texas is. Because Texas, it's a full-blown, it basically just goes to full-blown chaos. It's basically what happens. But I mean, if we're going off expectations of Texas, it would be a cleanup aisle 2 risk. If we're going up off of like, you know, a normal day in Wisconsin, it's probably in like the low to medium risk. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think there'll still be toilet paper on the shelves. I'm in Texas. You've probably experienced it. Probably experienced the chaos that happens when there's a winter storm coming. Middle of Michigan is a low risk. I'd probably put it actually at a medium risk. Thank you, JJ, for the $5 super chat. Love the info you provide. Can I ask what it shows for the lowest part of the South Texas on the 16th? Excuse me. Are you talking about snow, JJ? Just put it in chat. Are you talking about snow or are you talking about temperatures? Because it is going to get darn cold next week. That's the easiest way to put it. It is going to be frigid next week. Like, frigid. These are the wind chills going into Tuesday morning. I mean, negative 35, negative 40? No, thank you. I cannot imagine being up there going into Tuesday. The only state that'll be above freezing when it comes to wind chills will maybe be Georgia, maybe like the Carolinas and Georgia, California. I guess we can kind of put those people in the picture, but look at the 70s in Florida. Everybody's about to move to Florida going into Tuesday. I mean, that's insane. It's actually going to get close to 80, it looks like. 86 degrees for a feels like temperature Tuesday at 12 o'clock down in Miami. Meanwhile, the Midwest at 12 o'clock in the afternoon will be dealing with wind chills in the sub 20 to 30 category. Fun stuff. Just let me know in chat, JJ, if you're talking about snow, ice, or the temperatures. Will Grand Prairie see severe storms? You'll be on the cusp of it. Let's go to the future radar, wherever I put it in my million tabs that are open. One moment, please. I don't have it open, so we're just going to open up a new tab. My tabs are going to be so jumbled up now. This is what we're looking at in terms of timing tomorrow night. The storms are going to fire up like literally right along I-35 around midnight tomorrow. It's going to be very close, I think, to whether Grand Prairie actually sees storms or not. If you do see storms, it'll be more of a downburst damaging wind threat, perhaps some isolated large hail to begin with. There will be an evolving tornado threat as these storms move east. I'm not overly confident we're going to see that many tornadoes, though. I think a couple of tornadoes are possible back over in East Texas, back through parts of northern Louisiana, and as well as southern Arkansas. And this is eventually going close to 6 in the morning on Friday, so everything's cleared out. But it's going to be a close call. Either way, it'll probably be sometime around, I don't know, give or take again, probably sometime around like 10 to 12 o'clock. Thank you, JJ. You didn't have to super chat again. I appreciate it, though. Thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you subscribing as well. Temperatures. These will be the actual temperatures on Tuesday. And by the way, this is a likely scenario. This is no longer like a we have no clue sort of thing at this point. This is a much better certainty of happening. That we'll see snow going into, this will be Tuesday at 6. So this is Tuesday. Let me do Monday first. This would be Monday around 6 o'clock. So again, Gulf Coast above freezing. Tuesday would be the day, though, that would go below freezing. It wouldn't get that cold in terms of temperatures. I mean, for those areas, it's cold, but I mean, we're talking mid to upper 20s, low 30s. Wednesday will be a little bit colder, perhaps. The entire Gulf Coast could actually drop below freezing. Exclusion would be like West Florida, for example. Again, Miami. Everybody's gonna be jealous of Miami this week. 69 degrees going into Wednesday morning. Meanwhile, the Florida Panhandle will be in the 20s. Just again, crazy stuff. I mean, it's a really crazy sharp gradient with the system. This is Wednesday at 12, so it's basically what we're looking at. Thank you, Root Beer. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoy my videos. Thank you, Radio, for the $5 super chat. What's the temperature range you've experienced? That is a great question. I have played golf in the Texas summer heat at around 105 degrees. Feels like temperature was probably near 110. In terms of wind chills, I've probably gone through around sub 40 temperatures. Or sub 40 wind chills, excuse me. Temperatures, the lowest I think if it's ever gone for me, I think was like -10, -15. But don't quote me on that. I actually don't remember. I didn't really pay attention to that when I was little. So if I paid attention to it when I was little, I would know. But all I know is it was pretty cold in the Northeast when I was younger. It was cold. It got cold very often. Let me go back to this. The next European model run, by the way, comes in approximately, I believe, 2 hours, 3 hours, about 3 hours. The latest GFS model run's coming in, so we're definitely gonna be live for that. We'll see what it shows for the Midwest, if there's any changes there. The current GFS model run, for reference, has the winter storm going through Chicago, and again, blizzard-like conditions being possible, and then Michigan getting hammered with it going into Friday night and Saturday morning. Lake effect snow would continue all the way through Sunday, perhaps even into Monday, maybe even through the late afternoon and evening Monday into Tuesday. This could go on for a few days. If the winds continue to stay westerly, there would definitely be a lot of lake effect snow. Let me go to the winter storm. Yeah, I again do not think we're going to be seeing this much snowfall. It would be, again, it's possible, but I just still think it's a bit over the top. And even in Chicago, I don't think we're getting close to a foot of snow. I don't think the GFS model is going to help us much in this next run, but we'll see. But again, if you're just tuning in, if you're wondering, Chicago suburbs, I think will be around 3 to 6 inches of snow. Areas in like western and northern Michigan, I think a widespread 8 to 12 inches of snow is at least expected. Maybe a little bit more snow than that. We'll see. Let's go back to the snowfall accumulation real quick. I have a tab open, I think, for that at least. Nope, not the right one. This is the right one. Let's go to the HRR, I think. Let's do the HRR. Again, I really think that the highest snowfall totals will be up in here in like northern and western Michigan, especially after the lake effect snow goes, because we're gonna get a lot of lake effect snow most likely as we go into like Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that'll be the time frame to watch for. And then back over here on the east coast of Wisconsin, for example, I think there is a chance we get between like 10 to 15 inches of snow. But again, we need to see where this track is in like 12 hours from now in the computer models and see how it matches up with now. If it becomes more consistent, I think we can make a better prediction that there will at least be somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 12 inches, with maybe some areas getting close to 15 inches of snow. It feels reminiscent of what we just saw in the Northeast a few days ago with the winter storm up there, where those areas saw upwards of 15 inches of snow. Even like Lawrence, I think it was, or Haverhill, Massachusetts, got close to 18 inches of snow. So I think it's entirely possible that the snowfall totals get up here, but again, I think we need to wait till tomorrow for a much better understanding of how much snow is actually going to fall. And news stations are reluctant to go super high right now, and I mean I am too, just purely due to the fact we don't know where this is exactly going to track at this point. This is the latest, by the way, on the severe weather event. I just want to touch on this real quick, and I'll go back to answering questions. So again, if you have questions, leave them in the chat. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon down below so you're notified with the latest live streams and all that. This is the latest from James Spann, and I think this is kind of interesting, so I'm just going to kind of read it real quick. The Storm Prediction Center has much of the Deep South and a severe weather risk for Friday, including an enhanced risk for parts of central, east, and southeast Alabama. Again, pretty much what it says on the map. But we are watching a new high-res resolution model output tonight, which I'm guessing is the HRR. Let me check. I'm not sure if he's using the same one. I was using the HRR. He's actually using the NAM 3K, so it's pretty similar. Actually, they're different models, so it makes it a bit more verifying here. We are watching the high resolution model output tonight. We are continuing to see signs that the instability values will be limited, which instability, by the way, is like fuel for thunderstorms. We're not going to actually have that much on Friday. It's actually going to be pretty limited. Here's the instability. This is actually the European model. It shows almost nothing. I would say right here in the Florida Panhandle might be the spot to watch for. But even then, I think even up in here, we might just have a little bit of instability for there to be severe weather. Up further to the north, though, it's lacking. It grows a little bit late Friday across South Carolina and North Carolina. But again, it's kind of again, it's a very small area and it's pretty weak overall. So hopefully that will mitigate basically, or mitigate, sorry, the severe weather threat as we go into Friday. But it does seem like the greatest threat at this point will be on the southern side of the state, which I've been kind of saying. That's what, again, James Spann is saying. If you're in southern Alabama, time frame 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's basically what we're looking at. So bearing any major changes at this point to the the high resolution radars on this severe weather event, I think a lot of this is going to be, actually, I think it might not be nearly as bad as what we're going to see, or what we just saw, yesterday. I think there'll be less tornadoes if everything holds up as is right now. If we continue to see that trend, I think this will be a much less bad severe weather event, if you will. Again, we'll see what the Storm Prediction Center says tonight. That's my thinking. They might not downgrade it immediately in the next outlook. They might wait until tomorrow afternoon, and maybe things change tomorrow morning. You never know. If things do change tomorrow morning, I think there'll be, if things trend back to where they were, earlier today, I think there'll be a, bit of a better chance that we see severe weather. But the timing is just so off, I think, on the severe weather event. It's gonna make it hard. I think the blizzard here in the Midwest will definitely be much more interesting. I know Connor Croft, I think, is gonna be chasing this instead of the severe weather event, which I think is reasonable. My local news station is forecasting 18 inches or more in my area of West Michigan. It's entirely possible. I think, again, Western Michigan's in an area where they could see 18 inches of snow. The keys that we're still looking at is where this low pressure system tracks. If it stays a bit further south, that's definitely going to happen, I think. I think at least 12 inches. I don't know about 18. It might be a little bit much. But even then, that's still possible. If it tracks further north, I think it's a lower chance. But the other thing we need to watch for on the backside of this will be the lake effect snow, with strong westerly winds that'll lead to some of the lake effect snow developing over the lakes, moving inland across parts of Western Michigan. That would lead to an additional snowfall accumulation that's really an unknown amount right now. It could be, 2 to 4 inches. It could be upwards of 3 to 8 inches. Depends on how long that westerly wind lasts. But I think there's a pretty good chance that we'll be seeing that there across Western Michigan for at least through Monday. So that should last at least a couple days in terms of lake effect snow. Let's go to the GFS real quick. I think it's getting to the point where it's at the most recent run. So the GFS showing the low pressure center over in northern Indiana. Let's compare this to what it was recently. It's actually, the GFS has the slightest bit of a shift to the east, which, again, I wouldn't make any big notes out of this. I think it's a very small little change. But regardless, the snowfall accumulation still trending to be the highest in Western Michigan, Northern Michigan even, and then back over into very far northern, I'd say, Illinois. So in this area here, so southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. I think Chicago is going to be right on the cusp of where the rain-snow mix is. I think the highest snowfall accumulation, though, will be right in these areas here, these two. So, and southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and then back through Western Michigan. All I want is for school to get canceled on Friday. I totally understand. It's entirely possible. It depends on where you are. Again, if you're back up in southern Wisconsin, Western Michigan, I would say it's a good 80 to 90% chance. I'm not sure what the standards are for school closures in these areas. I know in Texas, they'll close for a couple snow flurries. So if you see a couple snowflakes outside, it's, school's closing. It's done. That's it. We're done with, the entire, basically, you get what I mean. They would close for anything. But I mean, if we're talking about Milwaukee or anything like that, I mean, I'm guessing 6 inches or more is probably the range that does close school for those areas. I think eastern Nebraska overall, I haven't really talked about Nebraska much, but I think for the most part, it'll be somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 4, 3 to 6. Let me go to the HRRR and see what it's showing on there as well. Just see if it verifies with my thinking. Basically shows like nothing, but I think 2 to 4 is reasonable at most. If you're right in the Omaha area, it might be a little bit more. I'm kind of surprised the HRR is bringing that much snow. That's a bit more reasonable. I think 2 to 4, maybe 3 to 6 if you're right along the border. This snow is not going to last a super long time. This is what we're looking at. It'll basically start around 7 p.m. tomorrow or so, give or take an hour or two, and it'll end by around 4 in the morning, so that's a good 6 to 8 hours, but a lot of it's going to be light snow. It's not going to be very heavy. I would not anticipate, anything major. Unless, again, there was a major change and we saw heavier snowfall up there, which we'll see. You never know. Is the HRR a outlier? Not really. I think it's kind of on track for what I think will happen, but the HRR has a big curve to it as it goes into the Great Lakes, so I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like tomorrow in real time to see how it compares. But the HRR is usually pretty accurate. Let's look at the temperatures real quick in Chicago at 1 o'clock on Friday. Now you can see here that, the HRR puts the temperatures at like 35 degrees Fahrenheit. By the way, this is not possible. 36 degrees Fahrenheit for a dew point, 35 is a Fahrenheit. That's something that happens. Looking at other things here. Yeah, that's basically what we'll be looking at. Again, it might translate into a bit more of a mixture of rain and snow briefly. This would be 2 hours later after that. It drops the temperature a bit. So it's going to be right on the cusp, I think, of, again, seeing between 3 to 6 inches of snow or going close to the 12-inch mark or maybe a little bit higher than that. Will there be tornadoes for Georgia on Friday? There is a chance. I think the southern side of Georgia will have the highest likelihood of that, but I do think the threat of severe weather will drop off a bit in the next outlook. It's at least my thinking. It's a 100-mile shift to the west. It's a pretty big shift. Let's go back to the HR model real quick. I'm not sure what it showed. Let me go back. I don't think we can go very far back on this because it's relatively new. The furthest I could go out and give you a second run on would be this. So let's do this. This is the HRR model at 18Z. And then this was 6 hours ago. Actually a bit of a shift to the east on the latest run. So the HRR model, again, was right about there. That's where it is. This is where it was 6 hours ago. And this is where it is now. So again, you can see that there's still changes happening, and we really will not know the exact track, I think, until tomorrow, at least tomorrow morning, if not maybe during the afternoon, once this low pressure system crosses over the Rocky Mountains. Because again, the low pressure system right now, it's centered back over here near Idaho and northern parts of Utah. It's going to cross over here and into parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. Once that happens, once we go closer to like Thursday night, I think we'll have a better idea of what actually happens as this moves toward the Midwest. By the way, is anybody currently seeing snow in the Midwest right now? I know there's a little bit of snow falling out there if you're back over in eastern Iowa, southwestern Wisconsin, or northwest Illinois. You might be seeing a few snowflakes out there. You are seeing snow. I'm guessing it's quite light. I don't think it's anything that crazy. Let me go on Radar Omega and check this out. Let's go full screen. My live radar time does not work. Nice. I'll have to fix that. Yeah, this is all snow right here. I don't know if I can put on a color table for this. I'm guessing I can. I just don't have it on right. But there is snow. Here's winter weather. There you go. Yeah, you can see all the snow here. So it's basically all snow. This is a live cam. There you go. Some snowflakes flying in southern Wisconsin. Yeah, it's not much. It's really flurries to light snow. I haven't seen snow in about 7 years. Actually, no, that's a lie. I saw snow in Texas. Never mind. Saw snow about 4 years ago, I think. That was the last time. Maybe. No, yeah, definitely 4. So about 4 years ago was the last time I saw actual snow on the ground, or saw snow in general flying. So it's been quite a while, but that's the live cam there. And this is the live cam. This is actually a pretty cool live cam. This is in is this Kalamazoo? That's Kalamazoo. Pretty cool live cam. You see the clouds in the background, by the way. That's at least a little bit of snow back there somewhere over the Great Lakes. You might get a few flurries tonight. There's actually snow on the ground right now, so there will definitely be a little bit more accumulation, I think, once we go into Friday. The snow's actually already blowing a bit sidewards, too. It's 24 degrees there right now. Anything else interesting happening? I don't really think so. I think most of this, but the southeast entirely is dried out because of the low pressure system moving out. That low is actually weakening now. And then that's about it, yeah. So, yeah, kind of interesting. Again, it's snowing over there in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. Again, more of that to come as we go into Friday and Saturday. So, just notice the neon light behind you. Nice. Yes, it is a nice light. It's actually, I got it off Amazon. It's a pretty good light. I think it was like $20, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, if you need a weather radio, there is a link at the top of the description to get one on Amazon, just in case you are curious. I can't say I've ever seen this before. This is literally the most insane thing I've ever seen. So Microsoft Bing now has a weather app. This is the temperatures it's showing in Alabama. This is in Auburn, Alabama. Over the next few days, it shows the potential for snow on the 16th and apparently going to 105 degrees on February 1st. Holy cow. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. This is when you know long-term forecasting does not work. Apparently, we're going to jump from 44 degrees on January 21st. You can't see it. It'll go to 80 degrees on January 22nd. That is incredible. That is the definition of incredible. Big moment. Never seen that before. That's actually very interesting. How will Northwest Alabama be Friday? If you're talking about 4 Fridays from now, apparently it's going to be 105 degrees. So be prepared for that. Big heat wave coming, according to Bing. Northwest Alabama Friday. Right now, I'm not really confident on the severe weather threat happening there. There will at least be some risk of damaging winds and tornadoes. I think it's going to be lower than what it is right now. We'll see. Northwest Alabama, actually in particular, in the marginal threat. I think that's fair, marginal threat there. I wouldn't be surprised if this enhanced risk gets cut out. If not, it'll be probably condensed southward. Slight risk also might get condensed a bit southward, but again, we might not see that change until tomorrow afternoon when things actually become a bit more certain in terms of the high resolution models, because high resolution models right now, again, are indicating a much lesser severe weather event on Friday than what it showed 12 hours ago with the long term, like European and GFS. So why is Miami cut off? I don't think it is it? Well, on this map it isn't. I don't know what map we're talking about. I have lost my entire organization of these graphics. I have so many tabs open, it's incredible. All right. Thank you, Tyler, for $4.99. Can you give details on the severe weather in Northwest and River Alley and Arkansas? I need to figure out what River Alley is first. That is in Little Rock. Wait, is River Alley like a large area, or is it just one area? Can you confirm with me what you mean by that? Like, what part of the state? Just give me, like, the Fort Smith area, okay. Once again, I don't even know where Fort Smith is. One moment, please. I've never been to Arkansas. I've driven through it, I think. That's about it. That is in... that's actually... Okay, so that's, like, northwest West Arkansas. If we're talking about severe weather, I don't really think there'll be much there. Let's go to the HRRR. Let's go to Arkansas. Let's go to the future radar. And let's hop right into it. So this is what we're looking at Thursday around 10 o'clock. Some showers and storms firing up in northwest Arkansas, one north of Russellville, perhaps. Again, just kind of an estimate. These will mostly be isolated damaging winds, isolated large hail. I don't think we'll get much of a tornado risk out of it. Maybe an isolated tornado, but I think it's a low risk. Better chance of severe storms right around 12 to 1 o'clock along a linear line of storms. These will produce more of a damaging wind threat. perhaps even an isolated tornado embedded in that line as well. But that's what I think for Arkansas right now. And then as this moves to east, by the way, just for reference, again, most of this would be probably damaging wind threat overall. Again, maybe an embedded tornado or two. And then once we go into Alabama and Mississippi, let's go to the most recent model run, just to get a better picture here. Again, most of the storms, I think, right now going into Friday will be a linear line of storms. If the K-index is high, which basically, it's a fancy word, but basically means we have a lot of showers and storms across the map here. If we have a high coverage of showers and storms, I think the tornado risk will be a bit harder to come by, especially with the instability being lower. But we could still get a couple of discrete cells going that could produce a tornado risk. I mean, it's not out of the question, but I still think the threat is a bit low. This would be mainly damaging winds, potential tornado threat out of these storms here. That'd be, again, 10 in the morning. This is by 12. Those storms moving east and eventually going to Georgia, which, again, anything from there is kind of still uncertain. I think the threat overall will be lower on the severe weather side of things. I think it's going to be higher, though, again, if we see more instability and, you know, more shear. Western New York. Yes, I was talking about lake effect snow. I have yet to really talk about the lake effect snow in New York. Mainly due to the fact there are just so many weather things to talk about. I'm telling you guys, I've been doing double uploads for this is the first time I've ever done it. I've done 2 videos a day, I think 4 or 5 times now in the past week. I've never done that before in my history of this channel. I never do 2 videos in a day, never. And those are all 10-minute forecasts, and a lot of them are in different things too. It's kind of crazy. You know, the weather is crazy right now, but this is what we're looking at in terms of the lake effect snow. It's mostly going to be light snow from the low pressure system Saturday afternoon and evening. Better chance of lake effect snow going into Sunday and into Monday. This could cause some problems. We might get a little bit of light to moderate snow going, and this would continue all the way through Monday into Tuesday, and it might not be done until like Wednesday or Thursday. The European model keeps the lake effect snow going in Western New York for a very long time, which would be pretty crazy, but a lot of things have to go right for there to be lake effect snow for like 5 or 6 days. So we'll have to see what happens with that. If we do end up seeing lake effect snow for this entire time frame, again, initially we would get somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 4 inches of snow out of this particular winter storm, and then that would just add up over time. But it wouldn't add up very quickly, I don't think. This is not like the Buffalo winter weather event that we had last year, or really, I think it was December of 2022 it was, where we had the lake effect snow in Buffalo. It accumulated to like 3 to 4 feet of snow. I don't think we're going to see that specifically. And if we did see that, we would be talking about probably 200 inches of snow if this snow went on for 5 days in a row, because that lasted a couple days. This would be lasting perhaps upwards of 5 to 6 days. And if it lasts 5 to 6 days, we could possibly get over time a foot or 2 of snow, and maybe even near Watertown. But again, those things are still kind of uncertain right now. It depends on how long it actually lasts. And again, I think we'll have a better idea on all these things tomorrow. I just want to say, if you get 20 inches of snow on Friday and a Saturday, I wish you luck shoveling and snow plowing that. That's just not fun. It'll be fun for the kiddos, but that's about it. I can tell you, as you get older, it just gets more painful to go shoveling. Sorry, I'm tweeting something on Twitter. By the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure to follow me there. It's at MaxVelocityWX. By the way, I want to give you guys a quick shout out. Appreciate everybody that's following us over on TikTok. If you are on TikTok and you want to follow us, I am doing pretty much daily weather updates when needed on there now. So, sorry, 1 second. I have audio on TikTok, but if you are following us on TikTok, I appreciate it. A lot of our TikToks actually recently have gone viral, which is kind of weird, but yeah, we're doing like daily updates on there now, so if you're not already following us on there, make sure to do so. I also wanted to mention this in a live stream because I've yet to mention it in a live stream or video. For those that have been waiting a while, I know a lot of you have been waiting a while for this. We officially have flying trampoline merch that is revamped and it's back better than ever. It's actually like it looks really good in my opinion. This would be the t-shirt, and not to be a salesman, but I know a lot of you were wondering about this, so let's go to this screen. But here's the t-shirt. So again, Max Velocity, home of the flying trampolines. We have a mug. We have 2 t-shirts, light and dark, so you can get in either version. There's also multiple color selections. And we also have, again, the mug and a sticker, which is a very affordable option if you want one of these. Again, go to shopmaxvelocity.net. There is a link in the description, and I will put a link to it in the chat if you're interested. Again, these are not going away anytime soon. This is not a limited edition thing. These look way better than the ones before, in my opinion. So if you were wanting to comp one of those, I know a lot of you were for the past several months, have been asked about it a lot. Those are officially back. So if you want to check them out, again, the link's in the chat. It's also down in the description below. shopmaxvelocity.net. Oh, you sent a photo of the mug? I think I saw you. I could have sworn you sent one a while back. This is the Max Velocity mug. This is the new logo as well. We rebranded to a new logo recently, but it's the Max Velocity mug. It actually looks really nice. I think the back side of it too on the Max Velocity mug has something. I could be wrong. I know the old version did. Any freezing rain during the storm? The only area that right now has a chance of ice accumulation is really the southern plains. There might be a little bit in the Midwest or northern Ohio Valley, but it probably will not be much. It's going to be mostly a snow event with, again, if you're right on the cusp there of seeing, I'm trying to find the graphic here. But if you're like the cusp here of this rain mix line, you might get a little bit of snow, or ice, I mean, but it wouldn't be much. That'd be more if it melted. I mean, it shows like nothing for ice accumulation, but if we did see a little bit of melting and it refroze over, that could potentially turn into ice, but there wouldn't be directly freezing rain here in the Midwest. The only area that has a chance of freezing rain right now, realistically, in the next few days, is back down in the southern plains. So back down near like Texas and Arkansas and Oklahoma. Those places actually have legitimate chances of ice going into Sunday and Monday. Yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And in case you've missed anything in this entire live stream, you can watch my videos. I will be putting timestamps in the description for sure after this, so you can go watch this back. I don't recommend you watching between the minute 20 and minute 35. It was a horrible time. But anything outside of that, again, I'll put timestamps in the description in case you have missed anything. I did a full forecast earlier. By the way, I feel way better than earlier. I am pretty sure I was hyperventilating. I feel perfectly fine now. So I will have to slow down my talking because it's become a pretty big issue, apparently, on live streams now. Live streams specifically has the issue. My videos, I feel fine. But in case you were here earlier. Southeast Wisconsin, snow accumulation estimate. I think southeast Wisconsin will be around 8 to 12 inches of snow. Again, it could be a little bit higher than that. Could be a little bit lower. We'll see. ADHD. It could be ADHD. It could also be anxiety. I really have no clue. Never know. Unless you go see a doctor, which I've yet to do. But that hasn't really been an issue until recently. I would not be surprised, though, if it was ADHD. I would not. But I really do not know. You know what's funny is the Icon weather model was showing. I just want to go through the Arctic Blast again, because again, Arctic Blast is going to be a pretty big event. The Icon model was showing 92 degrees below zero in Montana a few days ago. It no longer is. Let's go to the temperature anomalies. It's actually still showing 70. Or maybe it still is. It's still showing about 70 degrees below zero back up in like southern Canada, for example. Even down in the southern plains, 30 to 40 degrees below zero. But honestly, once we go into this weekend, it's going to get very interesting with this Arctic Blast. it's going to be something to really watch for. Unfortunately, the HRR doesn't have something that shows the temperature anomalies, but you get the idea. Again, the temperatures could get 30 to 40 degrees below zero in Montana going into Friday evening. That's not even the morning. This is 6 p.m. on Friday. Very, very cold up there in Montana, and then all that cold air would leak into the Midwest on the backside of that low pressure system as it moves to the north and east. And that's going to be interesting to watch. Again, we might go above freezing a little bit here in the Midwest for a brief amount of time, and we might get a little bit of black ice trying to develop on that potentially as we go into Friday night and Saturday morning. So it'll be interesting to watch. Texas is not free from bad weather. No. Severe weather possible tomorrow night, mainly for East Texas. Ice winter storm threat possible, or not really a winter storm, but an ice and snow threat more than anything, like a little event is possible going into Sunday and Monday. Got a hurricane shirt. You wear it on occasion for the stream. It's not hurricane season, but I mean, people still use those hurricane icons during the fall and winter to represent a winter storm, which is very interesting. Oh, by the way, I made this post earlier, just for those that are, you know, have had some trouble and have not experienced snow yet. This is kind of like a little funny meme I found on Facebook. If it snows, please stay home. When you learn to drive in the sun, we'll discuss driving in the snow. I think that's pretty funny. I think that's kind of real, to be honest. If you don't know how to drive in the sun, don't drive in the snow. Or ice, for that matter. They're all the same. All deal with the same impacts. Guys, I can't predict school closures or flight cancellations. I can give you an idea that there probably will be at least some flight cancellations here in the Midwest on Friday and Saturday. Marcia, it might actually be mine. North Texas Weather Center is where I posted it like 3 hours ago. It already had, 3 hours ago. It already has 3,000 reactions and like 1,300 shares. I just found it somewhere online. I thought it was kind of funny. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so school closures, again, I can't predict it. I mean, it's very possible in the Midwest and Michigan. It depends on the criteria of the school and all that sort of stuff. I mean, again, if we're in Texas, I can guarantee everybody's not gonna have school if we see 5 snowflakes. It's just kind of how it goes in Texas. But on the flip side, again, I really can't predict that sort of stuff. But there's a good likelihood that, you know, if you're in like, I'll kind of shade the area at least that I think has at least a high likelihood of not having school on Friday. This area, a bit more of a question mark. Depends on when the snow actually arrives. I think if you're like very far western Michigan, back into northern Illinois, south and eastern parts of Wisconsin, there's a better chance that there wouldn't be school just due to the snow falling earlier in the day. Southern Michigan also in the same boat, but it might be light enough in like northeast Michigan for school to be on. Detroit area, a bit of a question mark, maybe an early release or something like that. You never know. We are in El Nino, yes. This will hit New England, mainly northern New England. But it will not really be impacting anywhere else in New England. This is the motion of it. So, areas near like the border of Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Vermont will get a little bit of snow initially going into early Saturday morning, but for the most part, it's going to be northern New England. And it'll melt off quickly. If not, it's going to be just a slushy snow. Which, slushy snow is not fun. I will tell you that. It is not fun to play around with. If you want to shovel it, it's a little bit easier. It can kind of get messy, though. I have experience. Chicago right now, my forecast, if you're in the Chicago area or in the immediate suburbs of Chicago, specifically west and south, 4 to 8 inches of snow is currently my forecast. That is my prediction. If I'm right, yippee. If I'm wrong, I said something else. No, but I mean, honestly, I'll have a better prediction tomorrow. If anything changes to my 4 to 8 inches of snow, I'll tell you tomorrow. But if not, it's gonna be the same thing. The uncertainty is really with where the low pressure system goes. Again, the further west it goes, like over here, it would lead to less snowfall in Chicago, like maybe 2 to 5 inches. If it goes further out here to the east, though, we would be talking about upwards of a foot to maybe even a foot and a half of snow. It's a big range, mainly due to the fact this low pressure center is going to be just that close to the Chicago area. It's a close call overall. It is snowing in Wisconsin. Yes, it is currently snowing. It's not the winter storm. It's light snow. It's nothing major. Yeah, don't be surprised either if we start to see some shifts. Don't be surprised. We'll probably see more of them over the next 12 hours, and I think we'll have a much better idea by like tomorrow afternoon or evening. Friendly reminder, by the way, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon so you're notified with the latest videos and live streams. Again, we are on the road to 90,000 subscribers. We are 2,400 away. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. All right. Snow in Dallas, Texas area. It's still too uncertain to know what precipitation will be falling there, if any, going into... I'm trying to find the graphic. Please hold. I don't even know if I have it open. I do not. I'll have to pull it up on here. But if you're like in Texas, for example, it's still too uncertain, in my opinion, to know exactly where we'll be seeing wintry precipitation and if we will see any wintry precipitation. It's still a low confidence potential, low to medium, if anything. A little bit of a better chance of some snow flurries Friday morning in northern North Texas. Going into Sunday, the GFS model is a bit more on board now with the freezing rain potential and snow mix across central and northern North Texas. It actually looks to be getting a little bit more certain. The question mark still remains is where the heaviest of the precipitation will fall. The GFS is putting it closer to Arkansas and northeast Texas. We might see that leak into DFW, but look at the European model, because it's vastly different from the GFS model. It's a major difference. This is what we're looking at in comparison. It's a major difference. It shows freezing rain all the way down here closer to the hill country of Texas, and it actually brings it down near Houston. So it's a big difference. Again, the question marks really remain is exactly where will the heaviest of it fall, and again, where will it fall? Those are really the two questions that we still have remaining. Because again, DFW might see it, might not. I think the likelihood now is probably 50 to 60% chance with the most recent model run, but granted, we are still a few days out. Things could still change a little bit. Again, I think we'll have a better idea on this particular event tomorrow night into Friday. Make sure you're prepared for it either way, because freezing temperatures right now for the DFW area are likely all the way through Wednesday. So if we do see ice, it will not melt until Wednesday, basically. That means there would not be school on Tuesday for a large chunk of North Texas, just purely due to the fact a little bit of ice or a little bit of snow would basically cancel school. But if it's ice specifically, there would probably not be school on Tuesday, because we're not going to get above freezing on Tuesday at this rate. The warmest it gets on Tuesday would be maybe 25 degrees in DFW. It's not going to get warm. The only thing that could melt it is the sun being strong, right? The sun would have to be pretty intense, which it is down in Texas. Even during this time of the year, it's strong enough to melt it, even at a 25-degree temperature. The other thing to keep in mind, by the way, is wind chills. It's going to get frigid down here. Tuesday morning will be the coldest morning when it comes to wind chills. Sub-0, possibly 5 below in some areas. Oh, is there a super chat? Did I miss one? I don't see it. Let me go back into this and see. Answer Tyler. Oh, sorry, I missed that. That was a while ago. My bad. I apologize. Thank you, JD, for the $2 super chat. How much snow do you think Milwaukee will get? I think Milwaukee will probably be a bit higher on the, in my opinion right now, I think it's a little bit higher than like Chicago, for example. I think overall you'll probably see in the ballpark of 9 to 14 inches of snow. Again, a little bit of a large range. Again, the track I think is actually pretty favorable for that area. I think there'll be a good period of heavy snow there. So I think 9 to 14 is realistic. 8 to 14, 8 to 12, kind of in that range. The European model brings it right around the 8 to 12 range. So, I mean, kind of go in the higher end scenario. If we do see a bit more of a track that's near like Northwest Indiana, I think you'll see probably in the 9 to 14 range when it's all said and done. So that's what I think at this point. Did I miss a few? Let me check. Okay, I got all of these. Never mind. I am good. Shreveport is really uncertain on snow. I would say it's like a 20% chance right now. Again, we'll see what the models look like tomorrow. If there's, you know, more certainty, then there might be, but again, it's still a bit of a question mark. Still a bit of a question mark. This is what the European model is thinking, by the way, in terms of snow. If we see that scenario, which again, it's going to definitely change. The furthest south it brings the snow would just be south of Shreveport, and even then, it's like a coating at most. Like a very minimal area of snow there. So again, too uncertain really to tell at this point. So we'll kind of see what happens over the next few days. In my personal preference, the European model is more accurate, but the GFS is also not that bad. Alrighty, I'm gonna end the live stream there. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. There's only supposed to be an hour. It went for almost 2 hours. So I do appreciate all you guys tuning in. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I do plan on going live again tomorrow night. If I don't go live tomorrow night, I'll at least have a video for sure tomorrow. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like the stream if you enjoyed it and found it informative. Click the bell icon down below so you're notified if and when we do go live tomorrow. In addition to that, again, if you want to pick up a Flying Trampolines t-shirt on the shopmaxvelocity.net website, I'll leave the link in the description. Again, you can get a t-shirt, you can get a mug, you can get a sticker. Again, this is a brand new revamped shirt and everything. The design is completely revamped, so make sure to check it out. Again, I'll put the link in the chat, shopmaxvelocity.net. If you pick one up, it supports the page. I appreciate you guys a lot if you do. I know we've already had a few orders on it, so I do appreciate you guys a lot for the support. Thank you to anybody that super chatted tonight. If you did something as simple as subscribing or liking the stream as well, I really do appreciate you as well. And thank you as well for Jane for becoming a new member tonight. I appreciate you becoming a Velocity member. I appreciate that a lot. If you want to become a member for yourself, you can click the link in the description. It's the become a member link. You can click that. Follow me on TikTok, all those platforms. The links to those are on the link tree in the description below as well. Again, if I go live tomorrow, it'll probably be right around the same time, so stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Have a great, safe rest of your night, and we will see you guys all again soon.